Let me just turn that on. Completely forgot. Evening, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Friday. Heading into the weekend, I thought I'd do a live because I've been really, really busy this week. And then I had a conversation with Ralik midweek around crypto. And we're like, oh, let's just do a live this evening as opposed to doing like a recorded video. So you've seen the thumbnail. We're going to talk a little bit about cryptocurrency. The markets have been a bit this past week. It's safe to say that Bitcoin being at 66,000, I think was the high around about there. Where it is right now, maybe a bit of a drop. And there are lots of videos at the minute talking about, is this going to be, a massive crash, and is this the end, and all this kind of stuff. And there has been some news, and Radic brought this to my attention. So what we thought we'd do is literally just get together, have a little conversation, talk about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space as a whole. Bitcoin's down this week, but others are up. I think like Mana and other coins are up. So we're just going to get a really nice view of what's going on with the crypto space right now. Should you be worried? I always say that, if you're investing long term, you don't have to be worried. But Radic has been researching this stuff way more than I have. So I'm going to bring him in a moment. Before I do that, though, just a point of reference. Monday, I have my short film coming out. Yes, it is going to be longer form content. I'm not going to apologize for that, but I can't fit kind of the content that we shot into like a 10-minute video. It's impossible. There's a lot there. So you may have seen some of the trailers. I've got another trailer that will drop. I should have put it out this afternoon, but I thought I'd save it for this live. So I'll do a little bit of preview to the third trailer. And then on Monday, I'll probably be online as well to kind of walk you through. But anyway, let's get into this. I'm going to bring Ralik in right now. And yeah, let's talk about a little bit of the crypto market. Dude, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you doing, Pete?
I'm all right, man. I'm good. It's the weekend. I'm literally going to get up tomorrow morning, go to Barcelona, come back on Sunday. And then Monday's my birthday, and I'm not going to be working on Monday at all. So I'm going to have
Nice.
2-3 days where I'm going to be doing nothing pretty much, which is a very, very rare occurrence. So yeah, how are you? Oh, 1 second.
Oh.
There we go. Sorry, man. That was my mistake. How are you?
No, it's going well. I mean, obviously the markets have been a bit all over the place this week. It's always the most stressful part of what I do when there is a bit of a pullback in the cryptos, especially trying to calm people down, explain the full story, because most of the time we see people making a little bit of irrational decisions, mainly out of fear. And at the end of the day, I don't want people to overreact when there's no reason to overreact. So I think that's also why I reached out to maybe just give a better idea and understanding to people as to what is actually going on, where they don't have to stress about the entire situation. But it sounds like you're going to have a great weekend. So a little bit of football tomorrow, and then Monday off.
The thing is, right, because they're playing the way they're playing right now, I'm not going to pay any attention to the football this weekend, because I don't want to be upset if they don't win against Watford. So I'll probably give them a little bit of a miss this weekend for my own kind of like sanity and stuff. So yeah.
It's Watford, surely.
Oh, look, stranger things have happened. Believe me, stranger things have happened, but who knows? You would like to think that the players will turn up to, I don't know, maybe fights for some pride. And, they've got Ronaldo in the team, so I'm sure he'll be up in the standards. But if you're listening to any of the news, then you'll know that apparently some of the players are revolting, and they don't really like the tactics, and they haven't got any confidence. So is that going to translate to the pitch tomorrow? Possibly. Who knows? It's just, you're never going to know, mate, to be honest. It's kind of like crypto, isn't it? Up and down, volatility.
Exactly, all over the place. You just hope you come out on top at the end of the day.
Indeed. See, we were speaking earlier this week, and you mentioned that there's been a lot of stuff that's happened in the States, which I didn't necessarily pick up on. So can you just give us an overview of what's happened in the States in regards to the crypto? Because one thing that I did pick up this week, and I did do a live on it, was that the SEC said no to a spot price ETF. And the reason for that were because they're still worried about the fact that, anti-money laundering rules, it's easily corrupted in terms of the system that is, because it's not regulated. But you were saying that there's a little bit more that's actually come out this week around the crypto space, which has seen the dip in Bitcoin specifically.
Exactly. So I'd say there's been three to three and a half major events over the past week. The one you mentioned with regards to the spot based ETF being
Hmm.
rejected, I don't think that came as much of a surprise to most of the people in the industry. The SEC have been saying for a long time that the only way they're going to approve an ETF if it was a futures based ETF,
Hmm.
and that they were flat out going to reject spot based ETFs for the time being. So I'm not sure how much of an impact that actually had on the overall downward movement of the market itself. But the major bit of news, which is what's caused quite a lot of concern in general, is the signing of the infrastructure bill by Joe Biden.
Triboding, yeah.
Um, the weird thing with the states is when they propose a specific bill, is they kind of just cram a whole bunch of different policies into that bill, whether it's related to what they're trying to achieve or not.
Yeah, because they use
Um,
it as a loophole to get other things through. Because yeah.
exactly. And we knew about this, I think it was in September or October already, that this provision for cryptocurrency had been worked into the infrastructure bill. And there was actually a vote put on whether that should be removed or not. Now, the thing with that is I believe you need a unanimous vote.
Hmm.
And if we've learned anything about the US in general, is nothing's ever unanimous.
Yeah.
And essentially, it was almost there, and it ended up getting vetoed by um, essentially a guy who's like in his 80s, in his final year in this position, and he's literally retiring next year. And he wanted more military spending. And as
Okay.
a result, he didn't get what he wanted. So he was like, well, now nobody's getting what they want. And
Yeah.
then essentially vetoed the removal of this provision. What this provision actually does, which I think is the main thing, is any transaction over, I believe it's $10,000, would require the recipient to verify the sender's personal information, um, which is his social security, well, their social security number, the nature of the transaction, and any other information, and then submit that as a report to the government within 15 days. Now, that is kind of a massive violation of
To the
personal
government, or
information.
so does the person have to do this and report it to the government, or is it on the responsibility of the exchange used for the transaction?
It is the person receiving the funds. So if basically I want to send you $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, then you as an American citizen would need to collect all my personal information and submit that to the US government.
Hmm.
It kind of plays off a very outdated law that they have, which all of this needs to be reworked. And the way that it is right now would completely stifle crypto growth in general, um, and cause massive issues in the entire space. So right now it is a bit of a sticky situation, and that is why we saw sort of that massive drop in the price. That also paired with a little bit of liquidations of derivative contracts to shake out that leverage. But I'll get onto the leverage in a sec, because that's a whole
Hmm.
nother
Hmm.
issue. Um, but the battle's not over, and this, I believe, will only come into effect in 2 years' time. And the crypto community is already sort of banding together to put together counter bills to sort of have this removed or change it and make it more crypto friendly, so that it doesn't stifle the growth of crypto within the US.
That's interesting because the whole notion of $10,000 needs to be reporting. That's a long-standing piece of legislation that they've had, and that really was brought in back in, because of 9/11. Any
Mm.
money that's being sent, anywhere has to be recorded. Is interesting though, and I said this on the live midweek. I said, when you look at cryptocurrency and some of the regulations that they've got right now, I mean, even some of the instruments that we're using, ETFs and ETPs and stuff, it's like they're really like old, archaic kind of like structures that they don't suit the whole crypto sphere. It doesn't suit in any way, shape, or form what's coming down the line with crypto. And it's interesting because this is me. So this is where you can be cynical and say, well, actually, that was a strategic move to try and, like, stifle the growth of crypto specifically. But in my mind, I'm like, well, you could have just said, okay, look, any transaction in crypto over £10,000, you need to report it and need to have it registered. The whole getting the sender's details, and I don't know how that would work cross borders. So if I wanted to send $10,000 to my mate Tyrone in America in Bitcoin, is he then going to ask me for my national insurance details so that he can report that to the government in the States? It's a huge issue. Like from an
Mm.
international point of view as well, it's proper problematic. And they didn't have to go to that level. They could have just said, we need to make sure that it's reported from a tax point of view. Either say, something you've got to report via IRS, or maybe some of the exchanges lean on the exchanges to be able to make that reporting. So it's interesting they've done it in that way. But it doesn't surprise me if the guy who vetoed the whole thing not coming out of the bill is an 80-year-old with 1 year left in government. That's the way it works out there.
Exactly, and honestly, I think in the medium to long term, I'm sure that this will be removed or resolved before it would actually come into law. So, while yes, it is a sort of a hurdle that needs to be removed, I do believe it will be removed. We've got a long time to do it.
Do you think so?
I do believe so. I think there is enough time for sort of more clarity to be put around what exactly should be reported and how it should be reported to make it friendly for growth. I mean, the amount of development that we've seen with crypto over the past few years is insane, and I think it's only going to continue to grow. And the US doesn't want to sort of find themselves in a position where China's in at the moment, of having sort of kicking crypto out completely and then giving other nations the opportunity to sort of overtake them in terms of that development.
I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. I mean, because I think with everything that China's done in terms of banning cryptos, pretty much because they don't want any competition with the digital yuan, the Americans have been very, very outspoken in terms of they want to be seen as the global leaders in that. I mean, you've got, I think it's places like Miami, for example, they were talking about how they could make it mining central or something like that. And I think New York have brought in some regulations, but also relaxed some regulations from a state point of view. They definitely don't want to be left behind or seen as though they're passengers in this entire, crypto revolution. I mean, it's America at the end of the day. They want to be forefront of pretty much anything and everything that they can be forefront of.
Exactly.
I am
But I
skeptical
mean,
though, mate.
sorry.
I am really skeptical though, because see, this is the thing though, because this is what the Americans do. They will sneak something like that into a bill, and once it's in, it's in. And it's the whole reason why they sneak it in the first place. So I hope that they get it overturned. I think it will be a massive, massive hill to climb because it's already passed. And they've done this historically. They've done it so many times in history. It will be interesting to see what happens. But people in the crypto space will need to be really, really organized, and that's going to take, as anything in the States, with the way the political system works, money talks. There's going to have to be some serious lobbying to ensure that it gets rectified or ratified at some point.
Yep. And I mean, listen, it's not going to be an easy battle. It's not going to be an easy one just because of how their entire system works. But if there's one thing I've learned over the past few years, it's not to sort of discount the power of the crypto community. I mean, we've seen that through like the communities of like Doge and SHIB, where the normal person would look at this and think there's no ways this could be a thing, and people make it a thing because it's the masses. And I think it's no longer really a stage where the little guy doesn't have a voice. So yeah, we're gonna have to just wait and see what happens over the next couple of months, how the ball starts rolling, and the reception by the entire US legal system too.
Absolutely. So what do you think will be the picture for Bitcoin and crypto, moving on from this? Do you think that we'll still, I mean, because you've kind of already said it there. I think we're moving into that phase now where you're getting into mass adoption. And luckily, the crypto market isn't entirely dependent on the United States and the US market specifically. It's way, way bigger than that. So I don't think that, yes, they can try to restrict and stifle the growth a little bit, but it's so much more bigger than just them specifically. Would you still stand by some of the valuations that you've had on, Bitcoin and some of the coins in the run up to the end of the year? Because we're pretty much there now. We're almost 5 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, I think the pile on with the FUD in general, and we've only really touched on one story so far. And I sort of said this on my stream earlier this week when we did sort of have the relatively large pullback is while it might not be looking like we will achieve 100K this year, it's for me, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
And if we have to wait a month or two extra to hit those goals, and that's all I really see it as, delaying the sort of the targets that we had by a month or two. I still, as long as we sort of recover from this, get back to where we were, right on track, it might not happen, say 100K before the end of the year, but I mean, we're right there for early next quarter. And it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think this is the one thing that I guess that anybody that there is so much FUD on here, right? On YouTube and across social media in general. And I think sometimes it takes away from some of the basic priorities that maybe, or things that you should pay attention to when you're investing in things like this. It's not about necessarily hitting a number like 100K, 80K, right? You may be building your life savings and your hopes and dreams on that number, but it's not a question. You can't control when that is going to happen. If it happens, 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, you've got to be comfortable with waiting that length of time to be able to get to that point. The fundamental question is, do you actually believe that it is going to hit 100,000? I still think that, with Bitcoin specifically, the adoption rate of it is too much. It's too quick for it not to get to 100K at some point. And, it's been bouncing around that 60,000 mark, really 59,000. It's probably bobbled around about there a little bit, but it's come straight back up. I think we're at this point now where it's going to be really, really interesting looking at what's going to happen through December, because December has been traditionally very, very good for cryptos. What's going to happen over December and the Christmas period, and where we actually start the year on January 1st and then the first week of the new year to see, where it actually goes.
Yeah, exactly. And funny enough, I think if you sort of look at how the market in general is reacting to all of this, it's not all that bad. Well, yes, I think the only sort of fundamental indicator that's a little bit concerning for me right now is the amount of leverage. I mean, as of today, we're at one of the high points of leverage this year, which even with this massive 15 to 20% pullback in Bitcoin, we still have too much leverage in the market. So that's where I am expecting another bit of a pullback at some stage, because we need to shake that leverage out. That's not healthy for the market. However, I don't think we're going to shake that leverage out until the next major rally. So I'm kind of expecting us to relax a little bit, calm down, get back to where we were, start making a push for higher highs, and then maybe when Bitcoin say between 70 to 80K, start to shake out some of that leverage which is in the market right now.
Actually, that's interesting you say that. So you really think that, the leverage, it does technically make sense, especially if you're looking to trade this thing. You are leveraged up, that you kind of bide your lows and try and exit, because obviously you're trying to exit at a high. It's interesting. Do you really think it's going to happen at 70 to 80K? You reckon and not sooner?
I don't think it's going to happen sooner. I mean, if it was going to happen, it would have happened during this drop right now. I was kind of expecting when I refreshed my the leverage charts this morning to see a massive dip in leverage, especially after the drop of yesterday. And we just didn't see that. Instead, I saw leverage higher than it's been in the past 9-10 months, which for me, I'm looking at that. I'm like, okay, well, clearly it's like that for a reason. You've got the people who are taking that leverage out. They're obviously not the same people who were taking leverage out when we saw the massive drops in during like the May period.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my feeling towards the sentiment now as well. Also, I mean, if we look at the total number of people holding Bitcoin at the moment, it's the second highest than it's ever been. The highest being on the 15th of November, just before the pullback. So
Mm-hmm.
even though you've essentially got quite a lot of retailers selling at a loss, because that's essentially what you end up seeing is the long-term holders continue to increase, but
And
your
they'll continue to buy
retailers.
as well.
Exactly. And then
Mm-hmm.
your retailers are the ones who are buying at a high because of the hype. Then all of a sudden there's a 15% pullback, freaking out, selling, and then the price starts to recover. And we're already seeing a little bit of a bump today from the low of yesterday and this morning. And will it continue to recover back up to 60K? I'm not sure. My sort of low for Bitcoin is about 52 to 53K. That's
Okay.
why right now, sort of the message I'm trying to preach is don't just YOLO everything in at the moment and think, okay, cool, I'm buying the bottom. We are not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily at the bottom yet. We could still quite easily see 52 or 53K. So generally, if people have extra funds on hand at the moment, the thoughts that I sort of float out there is consider maybe putting, I don't know, like a third to a half in now, and then just waiting and seeing. And if it does drop lower, then you can sort of start to deploy more and more capital and laddering into those positions, because that's going to allow you to ensure that you are getting the best price with the least amount of volatility.
Yeah, and you're able to average out those prices as well. I mean, at the minute, I've got some money set aside just waiting to see what's going to happen, so I can actually get in at different prices as in the next month, 2 months or so, depending on what actually happens. But it's interesting. Okay, so I had a question that popped to mind then. So in terms of the leverage, what are the leverage volumes that you're actually seeing right now? You're saying that they're on all-time high. Do you get an indication of what level that leverage is at?
I'll see if I can bring it up again.
Because I think it will be interesting for people to kind of like get a consensus or at least a sense of what what does that actually look like in terms of numbers. And I'd say this, like, if you're not too familiar with Bitcoin and you're literally just approaching crypto, please don't go and leveraging stuff just for the sake of it sounds really sexy and interesting. Like, people can ruin themselves leveraging stuff. Like, if you're going to leverage, you really need to understand the risk that you're actually taking. And, dare I say it, you probably need to have a little bit of money set aside just to make sure that, if it doesn't go your way, you need to cover yourself. You can actually cover yourself adequately as well. It's not it really, really is not an easy game to be able to, leverage this kind of stuff. Do you want me to show this?
Yes, go for it.
There
Let
we
me
go.
actually switch it to dark mode as well, so it doesn't blind people. So this graph on the right here is the amount of leverage in the market currently, paired with the current price of Bitcoin. So as you can see by the purple line, we've had a steady increase in leverage over the past few months, actually, leading up to the peak of Bitcoin that we did see around that 67.5K mark.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where generally when there is a massive drop off in the price, you tend to expect a fall in the leverage as well. It's kind of what we saw towards the middle of
Right
April.
there. Yeah.
Exactly. As well as July and even September too. But we've seen something a little bit different this time. We've
It's
actually
kept going
seen,
up.
exactly, we've seen
Mm.
Bitcoin drop all the way down to about 57K and leverage peaking at what looks to be a yearly high.
Mm.
Well, it straight up is a yearly high. So
Yeah.
there's more and more leverage actually flowing into the markets right now. And even though we have had a sell-off by retail investors, and this is one of the interesting things that I get to see too, being a popular investor on eToro, is the way my copiers react to a fall in the crypto space.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever there's sort of a fall in crypto, I generally tend to lose quite a lot of copiers. And when I do lose those copiers, then you I what I normally do is I'll actually go into their portfolios, the ones that have a public profile, and see what they're doing. And it's generally very sporadic decisions where
It's reactive more than anything else.
Exactly. And they're in a bit of a panic, seeing, oh my gosh, my copy in Rally's down 5 to 10%. But that's why I try and be as communicative as possible, because I'm relaxed, I'm calm. I'll go on stream and I'll talk to my copiers, and I'll say, okay, well, everything's fine. You don't need to panic. This is what is causing this drop. Does it have a short, medium, or long-term impact on the market? And every bit of news we've seen, it is somewhat a short to medium term impact. This infrastructure bill could potentially have a long-term impact on the market, but we don't know that yet because we need to sort of see what the countermeasures are. Another bit of news that sort of arose over funny enough, yesterday, is with regards to speculations of about 150,000 Bitcoin that are going to be coming onto the market due to I don't know if you remember the whole Mt. Gox fiasco of 2014, where that exchange collapsed completely.
Yeah.
But there's just been an approval to repay their creditors with some of the funds or some of the Bitcoin that they had frozen. So we're likely over, I'd say, the next week or two to potentially see quite a large amount of Bitcoin, around $8.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, flow into the market.
Nice.
And that's also something you need to be considerate of, because that's a bit of a supply shock. And that's another reason why we saw Bitcoin take a dip yesterday. People sort of speculating that with this massive supply shock that could be hitting the market, it's going to cause the price to tank a little bit. But now, sort of, how do you react to that? Well, the way I sort of see it playing out is, yes, it's going to cause a sort of a short-term dip because it's a short-term supply shock. And that's likely going to be eaten up very quickly by institutional investors because they're getting Bitcoin at a massive discount.
Yeah.
So there's another bit of sort of bearish news that you'd look at, and people are like, oh my gosh, there's 150,000 Bitcoin entering the market. I'm going to sell. But is it actually that bad? Personally, I don't think so. I think it's going to be a massive opportunity for institutions to get sort of more involved, whereas they wouldn't have previously.
So with you then, because obviously you are one of the popular investors on cryptocurrency, obviously you're factoring in that, you're plotting your strategies, which is kind of like, there's a lot of FUD out there and a lot of like misinformation and a lot of scaremongering out there. It's hearing you say that, I hope, gives people who are perhaps looking at, cryptocurrencies and looking at taking positions seriously something to think about. Because it's really important and I say this all the time, especially when it comes to, investing in things like stocks. It's not good enough just to kind of know, what a company does and, the user case of Bitcoin in this instance. It's actually, what's the news out there and what does it actually mean? How do you translate that into information to try and figure out, well, is there an upside where I could potentially take advantage and maybe get a bit of growth out of a certain situation, opposed to a lot of the FUD that we're hearing right now. And it doesn't come naturally. Obviously, you're doing exams and stuff like that, so you didn't get born with this knowledge. But it's really important for people to kind of, I guess, seek out information and maybe take a little bit of time and be a bit more patient with the information they do find to make sure that they understand it and can interpret it properly.
Of course, you need to. It sort of goes both ways with something I say quite often is, if you don't have the time to research a project, then missing out on any potential gains, you shouldn't even think about that, because you could have also missed out on a massive drop as a result of not taking the time. And I'd rather understand something than sort of get into it without understanding it just because there's all the hype built around it. So that's sort of something, an approach you need to take with regards to selling as well. Is, yes, there might be a bit of negative news right now, but it's worth taking the extra 15 to 30 to 60 minutes to understand what impact this is actually going to have on the market. When this entire thing came out regarding the infrastructure bill, I woke up, I saw the price take a massive dive, And I spent the next 2 hours on Twitter and on other news sites getting all the information because it was actually not that easy to find.
Hmm.
On the day that it happened, is not many people knew what was going on or why it was going on. And all you need to do is go into sort of like the eToro newsfeed for Bitcoin, and you'll see is people just saying, "Is it time to sell? What's going on? Can anyone provide some information?" And the only reason I sort of knew what was going on is because I took that time to spend that 60 to 120 minutes to actually work out what was happening with the situation before reacting and being like, "Okay, I'm just going to sell all my cryptocurrency." And then after I understood it, I'm like, "Okay, this isn't good, but it's not terrible either. It's not the end of the world. It's not the death of crypto," which is what we hear every single time Bitcoin drops
Yeah.
by 15 to 30%,
Yeah.
is it's apparently Bitcoin's dead now.
Hmm.
So I'm sort of used to it right now. It's like, it's almost like I'm numb to it. I'll wake up, I'll look at my phone, see the price down 10% and just be like, okay, what happened?
Yeah. Well,
Here
you
we
know
go
what
again.
though? That's the thing though. I mean, volatility comes with the game, and it is normal for cryptos to be up 8, 9, 10% a day either way.
Mm-hmm.
I think from a psychological point of view, where a lot of people will struggle is there is so much focus and attention put on, oh my god, it's up, and you look at your balance and it's up, and then it's like the minute it dips down, it's like, no, 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 I'm losing money, I'm losing money, I'm losing money. And it's like, it's that initial like um self-preservation, I want to protect myself reaction to be like, I'm gonna get it all out right now because I don't want to get hurt. But again, it's, you do this for a living, all, on a daily basis. So
Yeah.
finding the information out for you is something that you would naturally do as a default. For people who are perhaps busy with work and busy with family, who are trying to dabble into Bitcoin in this arena, it becomes very, very emotive and very, very reactive, in terms of what we actually do, which is why I guess, copying someone like you who has a little bit of a background in this is maybe a way forward for some people, because you can trust that actually you'll be able to communicate with somebody and someone's actually taking some due care to find out what's going on and plot strategies.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I try to communicate as much as I do. I think there's unfortunately very few PIs on eToro sort of who provide consistent updates when there are massive moves in the market. The Whenever I do speak to other popular investors, I always say, like, I always encourage communication. Is like, I'm not trying to sort of give myself an edge by communicating all the time. I'm more just trying to provide as much information to my copiers as possible. It's why I answer every single question that ever gets posted to me. I probably spend about 5 to 6 hours a day just responding to comments, um, whether it be on Twitch or on eToro itself. And like you said, some people might not have the time to actually go out there and find this information out themselves. And that's why I think it's useful to sort of know which channels to follow, to obtain that information, whether it be sort of following someone who does find that information, or going sort of straight to the source too. I mean, there's so many different sources I use on Twitter and YouTube to sort of find out what is going on the moment it happens, which ends up saving a lot of time because
Hmm.
if with regards to a lot of these online news sources, they've got to write the story, they've got to get it approved, then it's got to be published. So it generally takes, like, I'd say 3 to 5 hours after the fact. Whereas Twitter, it's instant. Like, it's the
Hmm.
moment something happens, it's on Twitter, and
Yeah.
that's why I think Twitter's probably one of the most underrated news sources out there right now for that reason.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen with some of the metaverse coins at the moment? Because I think places like Mana, that's up, Decentraland. What's your view on the whole metaverse at the minute, and potential NFT projects that come along with that as well?
Um, so I've probably got a bit of a controversial opinion when it comes to
Go
the
on,
whole
go on.
metaverse, because I honestly think it's way too overhyped right now. Um, if you think about the
It was Mark Zuckerberg who came out and started talking about it, though. So what do you expect? He's like, "Oh my God, Facebook is going to be doing this," so it becomes a trending topic.
Exactly, and it's one of those hype things right now, which is why, like personally, I'm not even really in any of the metaverse projects. I'm in maybe one or two just to sort of hedge my bets a little bit, but I'm not going all into the metaverse. I want to see more adoption, more utility within the metaverse, because if it's going to be something like a Microsoft Teams call where everyone can sort of join with their little avatars. Listen, that's not that big of a deal, to be completely honest. And if you sort of look at the way VR is at the moment, if you look at how sort of the adoption of Google Glass was, that was a complete flop.
Hmm.
Um, and now you've
Don't
got
you
sort
don't
of
you think
like,
the technology for that was maybe a little bit ahead of its time though? Because
oh,
like
definitely.
when did that come out? That was years. That was years ago, like years and years and years ago. And it just goes to show how forward thinking they are. The fact that people didn't get it then, people are getting it now. Though they're like, actually, we can see where this will fit in now.
Yeah, they're getting it now, but I think that it has a very long way to go. I mean, as an example, if we were to sort of look at the metaverse as sort of this virtual reality place where everyone can hang out or potentially have a job one day, sure. But listen, no one's going to sit with one of those Oculus things on their head for for 10 to 20 hours a day, or like 10 to 15 hours a day. Every person I've spoken to who has one of those devices, they say after about 30 to maybe 30 minutes to 2 to 3 hours, they don't want that thing on their head for another 2 3 days because it's so uncomfortable.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that film Ready Player One. That's honestly what it reminds me of.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, I look, I can't see the world getting to that place. Maybe I'm completely and utterly wrong. But like I did come across, and I found this on TikTok as I was scrolling, just bored one evening, and I haven't looked into this properly. It's written down. I need to have a look at this. You talking about Google Glass and the fact that you have the augmented reality within the lens. There's actually a company that is actually developing that as a contact lens, and it looked really, really, really amazing. It looked very, very interesting. I've got to check out the company, but that again is all the hype right now, and it's like, okay, if they get it to the point where it actually works from a day-to-day practical application, I can see that that will be really, really good. Like your text messages, it's
Mhm.
all there within your contact lens. Very, very simple, great application. I think it would work. But the technology getting to that point where actually it can be delivered in the way that they're packaging it is probably a few years off right now. But again, I guess people have invested into the future, aren't they? They're investing in the world of tomorrow.
Exactly. So I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying right now, I think the whole metaverse in terms of crypto, I think it's in a bit of a bubble. And I wouldn't be surprised if it does come crashing down at some point in the future. Like I said, I've got a very, very small part of my portfolio in those types of assets, but I mean, I'm talking like less than 1 to 2%. It
Hmm.
is really a small amount. I think there's so much better growth opportunity in some of the other cryptos where I'd rather be in those projects rather than in metaverse projects right now.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's interesting. I'm a big Matrix fan, right? Absolutely love that film, and obviously they're launching an NFT on the 30th of
Hmm.
November. So I'm in the queue just to partake in that because I just think it would just be you're not going to get Neo or anything like that, but I just like the whole idea of it. It just takes the whole interaction into a different level. They're talking about, you can get your own little avatar, then they'll release challenges a bit later on. Whether it's going to be worth any money or not, I think it's going to be a nice bit of fun. But I think that NFT space is another one it's so popular right now. Like Disney
Yeah.
launched the NFT, and I think actually there's probably going to be some value in those, like the NFT of if you've ever been to Disney World in Florida, it's amazing, mate. Like I went as a grown man and I just stood there, just awe, like, and I went on my own as well because I was like, I want to go to Disneyland, but they have a
Mm,
statue of Walt Disney holding Mickey Mouse's hand, and that as an NFT apparently um, is worth mega mega money now. Mega
yeah.
money now. It's things like that that I think, yeah, all right, there's value in it because there is a notable brand that is
Mm.
associated with that. It's very, very different to some of the other NFT that you're seeing kind of in this space right now. And that, I don't know, it feels like a big bubble, but you never really know. The musicians are getting involved with it, and it's all the hype.
Yeah, the NFT space. I mean, I think we can all agree it's in a massive bubble right now. Um, I do think people will come out of it with sort of some very valuable pieces. However, I also think that most of those NFTs will sort of be worth a fraction of the price that people ended up buying them at. When there is sort of a big brand name behind it, like Disney, then yes, I definitely see value behind that. I mean, if you look at sort of how people are so obsessed with Disney and collecting Disney memorabilia,
Yeah,
it is huge. And
yeah,
something like that, yes, I would believe that there is value behind it. But when you've got like someone creating 10,000 of these NFTs, which each has a different characteristic, like of course you've got the original ones like CryptoPunks and all the ape NFTs too, which it's sort of I think they will likely retain that value because they were the first to do it.
hmm
So it would be sort of seen as value there. But a lot of the things we're seeing spring up now, I think it's just going to lose nearly all of its value over the next few months to years.
yeah. I have to pop this up. And thanks for the super chat, by the way, Blue Lotus. But I've just read this, and I'm just like, okay, I want to get your thoughts on this because I spoke about a pump and dump scheme like on the video on Tuesday, and there are so many of them here, and I wonder whether this is the case here. So, someone tell me why. Tell me something about my Hokkaido Inu. Hokkaido Inu. I got over 100 million on my Trust wallet, but I cannot cash out. No one gave me a good reason why it skyrocketed in the first place. What do you think? If it's not a pump and dump, what is it?
So I've just brought it up now on Coin Market Cap. It looks like it's got about 157 million diluted market cap, but it's actually sort of sitting at around 62 million. It's another dog coin. So without looking into it and knowing much of anything, I would say it looks like a scam coin, just straight up. It's another one of those dog coins that is being pumped with very little value. The concerning thing, obviously, is the fact that you cannot sell it. This is literally play by play what happened with Squid,
hmm
uh, where you couldn't sell your Squid, and then all of a sudden the price just crashed to zero. And funny enough, there was a video, I'm not sure if you saw it, of somebody looking at Squid, a sort of like a trader. I think he was streaming on either YouTube or Twitch, and he caught the rug pull live, where you literally see this thing's value
Drop.
drop to zero in
Mhm.
the matter of like 2 to 3 seconds, and it's crazy. So something like this, where it is locked, I would say the fact that it's locked isn't always a bad thing. It sort of depends on the reason it's locked and why it is locked. So what they often do is they'll lock up periods of the people who participated um, in that sort of first round of investing to prevent a massive dump onto the market, which inevitably crashes the price. However, that reasoning is often used as sort of a smokescreen for the fact that they're going to then sort of just take everyone's money and run.
Mm.
So you've got to be very careful. I would say understand the team behind it, understand the fundamentals of the project itself, and if there is no team, if they're all anonymous, and there's sort of nothing real. I mean, I haven't looked at it yet, but if I were to guess, just based on everything I've seen, it's going to have an NFT marketplace. It's going to be hyper deflationary. Uh, it's the same buzzwords you see in every single one of these projects. I mean, I can take a look sort of now while we're talking, but that would be my guess as to what it does. I could very well be wrong, but that's generally what you see.
I think you made some really good points there. It's unfortunate, really, because because crypto and this crypto space is so topical right now. And it's so easy to like create a coin and create a
Yeah.
token and have it, and then all of a sudden, if you get some really good, publicity behind it, you can really, really push this thing. But everything that Raleigh just said there in terms of trying to make sure that you understand the team and you do your research, I know that sounds a lot easier than it is to actually do in reality, and it needs a little bit of understanding of the language and how crypto works as a whole. But if you're sat in a pub, or if you're online anywhere and on Instagram, and something like this pops up and you don't know anything about it, it's better to just stay clear of it than be like, oh, I'm just going to punt 100 quid or 200 quid. And the one thing that these lot always say now that really annoys me is they'll say only invest what you can afford to lose. Well, if everybody put in 100 quid because they can afford to lose 100 quid, it's still 100 quid that you've lost. But I think people get too wrapped up in the whole, oh, I could make a lot of money. You're not thinking about what you could lose. And that's simple human psychology, and as much as they're rascals, is one of the things that I wouldn't say admire about some of these scoundrels out there, but they are very, very clued into human psychology and how humans actually view profit versus loss. People will always aspire to the profits over the fear that they might lose something, and it overrides common sense and critical thinking.
Exactly. I 100% agree with you there.
So in terms of research, because I know that many people will ask this and say, okay, right, so you talk about, making sure you're doing the research and make sure you understand the team. Where are the best sources? So for example, for this coin, Hoka Inu, I can't even pronounce that. Where would you go to go find that kind of stuff, and what should you be looking out for?
So I immediately start on CoinMarketCap. I mean, as an example, I suppose I could share my screen quickly and just do like a very, very quick.
There you go.
So I mean, if we look at a crypto like this, first thing I'm interested in is obviously the current rank. What is its current market cap? And sort of anything below, I would even say anything below 1,500 or 1,000 is generally it's an immediate red flag for me. What you can also do is you can see the number of people holding the particular crypto, and you'll see that there was a massive drop off. And I'm assuming this is most likely due to some type of token burn, or if they artificially inflated it on their end. I'm not entirely sure. So that would be sort of another little bit of a red flag for me. Seeing that when it was created, okay, well, it was created on the 13th of this month. It's brand new. Then I move on to the description itself. So it's saying they build decentralized financial products that challenge modern banking into a powerful DeFi 2.0 player. So it's just sort of saying something about DeFi, and then it's best described as meme utility. Like here's an immediate red flag. It's like the moment I read meme utility, I'm done. Like I want nothing more to do with it. Not interested in anything else that comes after this. And then, like I mentioned, I mean, now you see your NFTs and so forth. So it looks like they're pushing the whole NFT narrative, which is the very common things you see. Then what's nice about CoinMarketCap is you can go straight to their website itself. So we can take a look at here, just get rid of the disclaimer. And they generally tend to sort of follow the same blueprints as each other too. I sort of want to see if I can find some type of roadmap, because whenever there's a roadmap, they often give themselves away because there's not really any utility on there. Or if there is utility, it comes so far down the line that it's not going to make a difference. So here it looks like it's going to be sort of a bridge to exchange cryptocurrencies. But I mean, technically SHIB's doing the same thing. So why would you do this? And if you're going to go into a meme, then you might as well go for SHIB. If you think SHIB's got, oh, here, I found the roadmap. So this is normally a dead giveaway for me. Listings on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, I could probably do that in 5 minutes with Relic Coin if I were to mint that.
Maybe I do want to see Relic Coin come up just as a case study to see how easy it would actually be for you to do this.
It's insane. And then it's like they always say they're building their war chest for marketing, because that's how they rope everyone in. It's marketing. More exchange listing, like none of these exchanges are They're all very small exchanges and a little bit dodgy. An audit, sure, I don't even think they'll get that far, to be honest. And at the end of the day, what does that mean? And then they're talking about getting into their swapping decentralized application, which honestly you could probably find a tutorial on YouTube on how to create a decentralized app to exchange cryptocurrencies. So still, I haven't really seen anything that's of proper utility, and we're already on phase 3. Website, it's like, okay, who cares? Legal entity, okay, they're going to create a company. Is that a milestone? Is that like really anything? Like I can create a company.
Should that be
in 5
fundamental?
minutes.
Yeah. Should that be something that they have in phase 1?
Exactly. Now they're talking about a utility token, but like, what is? It's like staking on here, but there's no real explanation as to what it does or what it's utilized for. So while I'm not saying this is a scam, I'm saying that to me, it's highly likely that it's just another one of those projects to try and get people hyped about around a dog and NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, so look, Blue Lotus, I know that maybe that's not exactly what you would want it to hear. I guess, if you've got to follow your gut with a lot of these things, you're already in. If you can't sell, I guess it's just a case of, sitting tight with it and just seeing what happens, essentially. But yeah, I mean, there isn't much that you can do, unfortunately. So I know that there are quite a few, I think, comments and questions in here from your Twitch, Ralik. So should we tackle some of those?
Sure, let's get into it.
Right, I'm just kind of going to go back up to the top just to see where we are. All right, that's all where we streaming from. Let's see if I can find the first question. There was this one right here. I think this is more of a comment more than anything else. Hey guys, I think it's tougher when you're doing it with big sums or your life savings, but if you stick to the only invest what you can afford to lose, it's a lot easier to watch the ups and downs. I would agree with that, definitely. I think even with the concept of what you could invest what you can afford to lose, you still need a little bit of you still need to take responsibility and do it responsibly as well. Just not throw money at anything and then that comes along as a principle.
Exactly. Otherwise, it's just gambling.
Exactly that. This is an interesting one. Saying I lost my home in the Med due to leverage when leveraging didn't officially exist. I did my due diligence exterior, but Enron, many bent me over backwards early 2000s. Never play with leverage again. You know what? Leverage is really you have to know what you're doing. It's not for the faint-hearted, and that thing can flip on you so quick. And if you're not prepared for it, I knew one of my old colleagues in Canary Wharf. He used to leverage and he used to trade some of his own money, and days he'll be absolutely sweating because he's lost money. But unfortunately for him, his family have cash. So even though he's losing money, he's got daddy's bank account which he can go and source. Not everybody's like that though. So you have to be very, very careful. There's this comment here. Folks will see this dip as a chance to leverage at a lower level. That's why leverage leaves you so high. That's very, very true.
Yeah.
You don't take any leverage positions, do you, Vanik?
No, I generally tend to stay very far away from leverage. The only time I'll use leverage is sort of if it looks like there's going to be a stock market drop. And then I won't even use leverage in the normal sense of it. Instead, I will use leverage-based ETFs. Like SQQQ to sort of it's more to lock in my positions where they are. So if I've got $3,000 in say NASDAQ and I want to sort of not close out the position but sort of just keep it as it is, then I might open say a $1,000 to $800 position in SQQQ, which should in essence lock my position exactly where it is, where I will neither make a gain or a loss on that position.
Absolutely. There's a comment here that made me laugh. NFT icons are copy and paste, no value at all. Try prosecuting someone from Brazil, from the UK. It's true. It's very, very true. I talk to people all the time. You've got to be careful. It's so easy these days. It's too easy, in fact, to create these kind of things. What else we got here? Want to become famous? No, nobody wants to become famous and buy follows. Did you see that?
I banned him from my Twitch chat. I get it all the time.
Oh my god, seriously. There's an interesting one on there. Language. I don't want to get myself demonetized in any way, shape, or form. Um, okay, there are lots. There's lots of kind of like conversations and bits and pieces going on in there. Um, yeah, conversations about top gainers and stuff. Any thoughts on Solano? What you doing with Solano at the moment? Are you still buying more? How have you done? Like, I think you went in early, and you've got a bit of a profit on Solano, haven't you?
Yeah, so I got relatively, I don't say lucky. Like I picked up Solana earlier this year, around sort of the major dips in May. And the position, I think over the space of a few months, went up like 3 to 4x. Then they listed it on eToro, and I could finally give my copiers exposure to Solana as well. That position, I think I ended up making a very, very quick, like 50 to 60% on it.
Hmm.
I took profit immediately, and then I reinvested a much smaller portion back into Solana. So right now, if I sort of look at my on eToro itself, I've got about a 4.5% profit on my current Solana position after taking profit,
Nice.
which I'm relatively happy about. They did just have the Solana conference, which is why I think that initial sell-off did happen. Is normally people sort of sell into the event itself,
Hmm.
but it is sort of one of my favorite cryptos for long term. I would not be surprised at all if it sort of holds that rank 3 position in the next few months.
Nice. Cool. Good. All right, guys. So we're 57 minutes into this. Let people know how they actually get hold of you, because I think you've got some of your guys on Twitch here, but there's a few people that obviously from my channel here. Let them know how they can get in contact with you, speak with you, how they can actually copy you if they're on eToro as well.
Sure. So on eToro, it's at Rallick, Rallek. You can add me to your watch list. You don't need to copy me, and then there you'll still see my daily posts, sort of about the market conditions and everything. It's normally a good way, if you don't want to copy, to just get that exposure to what's happening right now too. And then just in terms of socials, I'll just paste my link tree. It's probably the easiest thing. I'm not sure if
Perfect.
that came up, did it?
Let's have a look. Did it come up? I
I know
don't
it
think
can
it
sometimes.
did. I don't
No,
think
it
it did.
didn't.
Are you in the main chat or the private chat?
It's not giving me an option for the main chat. So
Okay, if you put it in the private chat, then I'll copy it into the main
okay,
chat.
yeah, perfect.
Excellent. Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, otherwise, all of my smaller channels like Twitter or Discord, that's generally where you can get hold of me pretty easily. And I generally tend to tweet out sort of the smaller events as they happen, like with regards to if like what happens with the Mount Gox situation is I'll sort of make a tweet about it the moment I hear about it, rather than creating an entire post on eToro and spamming everyone with content
Hmm.
like 5 times a day. So that'll be the best way to find out what's going on.
Awesome. Excellent, guys. And if you are watching this on replay, thank you so much. For those of you who are watching this live, thank you as well. If you don't mind, just smashing the like button. It will really help me out with the algorithm. YouTube algorithm at the moment is, oh god, it's a tough cookie. I'm going to give you that right now. So yeah, smash the like button. I think there are 20 likes on this at the minute. If we can get to like 30, that will be amazing. But yeah, appreciate it. If you are using eToro, then obviously you know what it's all about. If you're not using eToro, I will post a link in the comments. I'll pop one in the chat as well. Go and use eToro there. I use eToro. I've got I've actually moved around a lot of stuff. I've got more crypto in eToro now because it's just so easy to buy it in eToro. Than anything else. So there's a link there you can actually use. It will help the channel out as well and support me. I appreciate that. Before we leave, for those of you who are obviously following the channel on a consistent basis, or maybe if you're just new, you're tuned on to me newly, I mentioned at the beginning of this stream, I do have a short film coming out on Monday. Monday's actually my birthday, so my upload days are Tuesday and Friday, but this is going to come out on Monday. I appreciate you watching. If you can, I'm going to end up leaving this stream with a little bit of a preview to the film on Monday. There's some other bits and pieces that are already posted on the channel. But Rallick, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. This is a third teaser to my short film on Monday, 22nd November, 5 p.m. It will be live on the channel. So cheers, guys. Appreciate it. I didn't come back with a clear plan of what I wanted to do. I had £50 in my pocket, I had my foster parents' address, and the plan was to just land, roll up on my foster parents. Everybody has moments in lives where they just feel like, I've made it. And Canary Wharf for me was that moment in 2012. Because my favorite movie is Pursuit of Happiness, it was my place where I felt, oh my God, if you work here, you've made it. That day always sticks in my mind because it was the day that I felt like I landed the job in Canary Wharf. I always remember looking out at the view of London, the Thames, London Bridge, the Shard, or Tower Bridge I should say, the Shard, and thinking, I'm not letting any of these guys have one up on me today. You have to look back to be able to appreciate it. I look back now and I just have so much gratitude for the path that I've walked. To be able to look at it now, it's just mind-blowing.